Hey everyone, it's John Heath here again for Milton Rose Learning with another Let's Learn video on the poem Bayonet Charge by Ted Hughes. Okay, so World War One here, we're in the trenches. So we're going to look at some key context that you really need to know for this poem. Then we'll have a nice reading of the poem and just get a feel for the sound and the phonology of the text. And then we'll round off by giving you some really good annotations to start off your kind of analysis of the poem. So it hopefully should provide you with a really good platform and a jumping off point for this brilliant poem. So a bayonet charge, let's start with key context. As you can see, you've got trench warfare there at the top, absolutely awful. And you have Ted Hughes looking all studious there. So first off then, let's look at key context. Things that you need to know about this poem before you dive in. So, war and the individual. So, although Ted Hughes was born after World War One, the poem reflects the terrifying personal experience of a soldier, focusing on the emotional impact of war rather than any patriotic ideals. It kind of pulls the veil from World War One and shows us what it's actually like. And these soldiers, they really had a tough time, as you can see in that image there. Very, very unpleasant place to be. And I'm putting it very mildly there. Okay. Then the influence of Ted Hughes' father. Quite interesting biographical point here. So Hughes' father fought in World War One, a bit like my great grandfather, I believe, was in at the Battle of the Somme in World War One. And Hughes' father was wounded in World War One, which deeply shaped his view on war, obviously. And it may have inspired the raw, chaotic imagery in the poem. Now, we don't know that for certain, but it's an interesting kind of biographical point, and you probably could shape that into a point in some of your P paragraphs. Then number 3, the dehumanisation of modern warfare. It's a great phrase for any essay on this poem. The poem critiques how soldiers become weapons of war. They're stripped of their identity and overwhelmed by instinct and fear in the heat of battle. Because when somebody's trying to kill you and you're in a kind of battle, all rationality goes out the window. It's fight or flight, and your instincts take over, and that very much plays out in this poem, which we'll see, and it explains why it feels so chaotic most of the time. Okay, so with those contextual points in mind, let's look at a poetry reading, but first off, let's just have a nice little look at those images. You can see bayonet. That is a bayonet charge, when a bayonet is like the knife that you stick on the end of your rifle and you charge towards the enemy. Okay, it's a real nasty kind of weapon of war. And then just some poor soldiers again in the trenches. So you can definitely get a feel about this poem before you start reading it. Okay, now we'll take the first stanza and then I'll scroll it down. I'm going to have a little read of the poem with you just to get a feel for it. It starts what we call in medias res. That means in the middle of the action. It starts just like, there's no build up, and he's starting running towards the enemy in a bayonet charge. It starts quite strangely. Okay, so bayonet charge. Let's see how it sounds. Suddenly he awoke and was running. In raw seamed hot khaki, he sweat heavy, stumbling across a field of clods towards a green hedge that dazzled with rifle fire. So he's running towards the enemy here with his bayonet. Hearing bullets smacking the belly out of the air, he lugged a rifle numb as a smashed arm, the patriotic tear that had brimmed in his eye sweating like molten iron from the centre of his chest. Very emotional start, and he's literally running towards the enemy. Okay, very chaotic. Second stanza, let's try and get the second and third ones in. In bewilderment then he almost stopped. In what cold clockwork of the stars, beautiful phrase, and the nations, was he the hand pointing that second? He was running like a man who has jumped up in the dark and runs listening between his footfalls for the reason of his still running, and his foot hung like statuary in mid-stride. Then the shot slashed furrows, threw up a yellow hair that rolled like a flame and crawled in a threshing circle, its mouth wide, open, silent, its eyes standing out. He plunged past with his bayonet towards the green hedge. King, honour, human dignity, etc. dropped like luxuries in a yelling alarm, so all of those things no longer matter. It's just about staying alive. To get out of that blue crackling air, his terrors touchy dynamite. Beautifully written poem, I must say. And it really kind of gives the sense of panic and alarm and just wanting to stay alive during one of these bayonet charges, because as we know, the human body's terribly frail. One bullet could be the end of you. It's kind of imagine being on the point of death all the way through that bayonet charge. Very, very kind of scary. So let's tease out now some of the key poetry annotations. Now, by all means, these are not exhaustive, so there should be more going into your anthology, but this provide a good kind of jumping off point to start you off. So first off then, the sudden opening. Suddenly he awoke and was running raw. So the effect, the poetic kind of technique there is called in medias res. The poem throws us straight into the action. That's what in medias res means. It means in the middle of the action. So it reflects the confusion and the chaos of war. Okay, very, very good point for you to raise in terms of structure of the poem. And the lexical choice of raw, it has a double meaning. Physical pain, such as flesh, but also the emotional vulnerability of these soldiers. Some of these were very, very young men. They might be 18, 17, 16 even. Some even lied. There was people as young as 14 and 15 in the trenches. So this was horrendous, hence the word raw. And it suggests the fear and emotional trauma which is coming to get them, basically. Right, nature versus war. Right, so a really good quote. The patriotic tear that had brimmed in his eye, sweating like molten iron from the centre of his chest. Let's break that down. So the patriotic tear, so he's crying, shows initial belief in duty, but that's now melting away. He wants to do his bit for the country, but then he's like, whoa, there's like bullets and bombs and everything going off. So the patriotism quickly melts away very, 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 very swiftly. And similarly, the tear now is like molten iron, like burning metal in his eye. It shows emotion. His emotional warmth turns into heavy, burning fear, because you could die here at any second, okay? So simply put, the patriotism, loving your country, is replaced by sheer panic, okay? This is not a heroic poem. This is, you're just fighting for your life here. Okay, then we have violent imagery here. Let's just get that in. So bullets smacking the belly out of the air. So it's personification, because bullets, last time I checked, bullets can't smack anything. And the belly of the air doesn't have a belly, obviously. So the bullets are described as attacking the air itself. War damages not just the people, but the world around them. Okay, if you've ever seen an image of no man's land, like you can see in that picture on the right, just about, it destroys everything. It destroys the landscape that doesn't recover for years and years and years. It's not just about the human cost of conflict. It's about the natural cost as well. And it shows as well the chaos of war, the visual and auditory violence, or kind of sound-based violence, if we can put it that way, reflects the overwhelming terror on the battlefield. It's everywhere. Bullets, bombs, screams. It's visceral is the word I would use. It's all-encompassing, and you cannot escape the violence of war. Okay, and then final kind of quote is quite an interesting one. The loss of purpose. So king, honour, human dignity, etc. dropped like luxuries. So it shows the disillusionment. These noble ideals and these noble reasons for fighting now seemed trivial. They seemed pointless. Look at the word he uses, etc. Meaning that Ted Hughes can't even be bothered to finish the list of things that they were fighting for. It doesn't matter when someone's trying to kill you. The only thing that matters is staying alive. Okay. And similarly, all of those things, they dropped like luxuries. Survival matters more than those ideals. He sheds values like excess baggage. Just get rid of them, because you are about to die potentially here. So the king and the country and honour doesn't matter. Only staying alive and staying breathing matters. Okay, so he really strips away the idealism of war there. Okay, now you can see I'm quite a passionate one about World War One and about those kind of poems, but hopefully you've enjoyed that. It's a really good kind of launching pad for the for your study of this poem. Obviously, don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, and tap the bell icon to never miss another Let's Learn video again. Share with all your friends and your classmates, of course. If you have anything that you want to discuss about the poem, please do just pop that in the comments, and we'll answer you on YouTube, of course. And it just remains to say then, after that magnificent poem, obviously thanks for listening. Jump off now into that poem and get your notes in order, and we'll speak to you soon. Take care.